And welcome to the Sports Box, where the only opinion that matters, it's right here. I am Mike Galetta, aka Hamilton Mike, along with my partner Brian the Ranger Retard, bringing you another solid, I said, did I say solid? Solid NFL special from 32 NFL fans, 32 NFL teams. Today, we are going to the AFC North, thank you. I always screwed that division up. The NFC North, talk a little Pittsburgh Steelers. Today we went local. We're talking to a guy in the Jersey area that is a huge, I'm talking huge Steelers fan. We'll get a lot of information out of him today. His name's Darren Cooper. Darren, are you there?
I'm here.
Attaboy, Darren on the line, because all we have is winners here. I keep saying it. Brian, stat me. Let's go.
Pittsburgh Steelers. So they were 10-6 last season. They were second in the AFC North. They made the playoffs, but they did lose in the divisional round to eventual Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos. They finished 16th in rushing, but third through the air. Great job by Ben there. Defensively, they were kind of one-dimensional. They were top 5 against the run, but 30th against the pass. They tried to address that in the draft, picking Artie Burns, cornerback out of Miami, with the 25th overall pick. They did add tight end Ladarius Green in free agency. They did lose Kelvin Beachum to free agency as well. But the word in Pittsburgh here is suspension. Martavis Bryant's out for the season, being suspended there. Le'Veon Bell is expected to be suspended the first 4 games. He claims he's not going to be. We talked about that in the Sports Box recently. But they will again have the services of Antonio Brown, who was, far and away the league's most consistent receiver, probably the #1 overall pick in most of your fantasy drafts this year. When Ben played great, but he only started 11 games last year, so there was some injury concerns there. As we mentioned, the secondary was absolutely dreadful in 2015, and that may have been a contributing factor to why they had to be third in passing, because they had to pass a lot more to make up for the fact that the secondary was so bad. They do have high hopes in Pittsburgh. It's a good team, but with key players being suspended, they're a little hamstrung there. So, Darren, going into the season, missing 2 weapons, again, Bryant out the whole way, and Bell probably out 4 games here. I mean, they're not giving Ben any help here. What's your thought, coming in here with, missing 2 big guys?
Well, I'm not really worried about Martavis Bryant. He did what he did, and it happened, because on the back end of that, we got Marcus Wheaton that's going to light it up, and we got Sammy Coates. Sammy Coates is up and coming. He's been on the team for a couple of years, and they expect him to fill a big role this year.
Defense is something.
Also,
sorry. Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, defense is something that the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's a hallmark of that team. And, to be that bad against the pass, I mean, Troy Polamalu must think he can probably get back on this team and earn a starting spot, how bad they were. They did try to address it with Artie Burns, but, what are your thoughts on the secondary and how it was just largely ineffective last year?
Well, the defense, actually, last year they were 3rd in sacks, 21 overall throughout the entire league. There were 6 in the red zone, 3rd in takeaways. Last year was their first year with a new defensive coordinator. Nick LeBeau was gone. The guy takes over, tries to keep things, but also tries to mesh in, his own stuff. So last year was a patchwork defense. Everybody was learning. Ryan Shafier's in there. Everybody's getting back on track. This year they have, they got a little setback from the quarterback, Saquon Golden. He got a Liz Frank injury. And, hey, injuries happen. It happens. But you know what? That defense is going to be fine. I think once they get a year under their belt with the defensive coordinator, like I said, 3rd in sacks. First year under a new defense and 3rd in sacks. Once that secondary picks up, that defense is going to be serious.
Darren, jumping back to the offense for a second, the loss of Le'Veon Bell, it does hurt them, but they did miss some time in the last year. So, like you say, I think it's a loss, but I think they can weather the storm a little bit. Ben's back there with D'Angelo Williams, who could do just as good of a job back there. Let's say Antonio Bryant. I mean, the groundwork is in play, and the offensive line is not in terrible shape. They're a good offensive line. My question to you is the Ben Roethlisberger thing, and I know he's been around for a while, and this guy's a tank. I mean, he has a hard time going down and staying down. So he's a very durable quarterback. But what's the word around the Steelers fans that you've talked to about possibly looking to the future of who's going to replace Ben and how long does Ben have left?
It looks like Ben's probably got at least 3-4 years left.
Okay.
The guy, like you said, is a complete tank. You know, the loss of Le'Veon Bell, possibly for 4 games. You know, how do you, with the NFL, if you miss a drug test, it's just the same as basically failing. You miss a couple drug tests, he's trying to put an appeal together, we'll see what happens. But D'Angelo Williams did more than carry the load last year when Bell was out. At the beginning of the season and at the end of the season. And might I add, the only reason they lost to the Broncos is because of a 4th-string running back fumbling the ball at the end of the game. That game was won. That game was in hand. If that running back doesn't lose that ball, you might have a different Super Bowl champion today.
Yeah, I think the Steelers really did themselves a big favor this year by replacing Heath Miller with Ladarius Green this year. I mean, I think you look at Heath Miller, as solid as he was and as consistent as he wasn't that kind of downfield tight end threat anymore. He was kind of more of a possession guy and get the first down when you need to. Ladarius Green is kind of a two-dimensional player where he can get down the field, stretch out, and he can also block a little bit. So I think the Steelers really did well in picking him up. Then the Chargers should have never lost him. But in any sense, the Steelers gained big access from that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Ladarius Green is going to be amazing.
Yep.
Last year, you know, when he was with the Chargers, he lost a touchdown.
Yep.
When Antonio was out,
yep.
Let me tell you, Ladarius Green is going to be great. Right now, he's still suffering from an injury. He hasn't been on the practice field yet. But once he is, basically, he's going to be what Gronk is with the Patriots, hopefully. The Steelers have, when all their weapons are on the field, the most potent offense in the NFL. By far. Every commentator states the same thing. That is the most potent offense in the NFL. When it's intact, but that's just a problem. It's never been a complete one-hit punch all at the same time. It's always something that drops. Ladarius Green is going to bring in a big addition to the Pittsburgh Steelers because they're going to have something that they didn't have before. They're going to have another weapon now. And, you know, now they got Marcus Wheaton, they got Antonio Bryant, they got Sandy Coates. Now, you know, they got Ladarius Green, they got D'Angelo Williams. How do you defend all of that?
No, that's absolutely fair.
All of that at once.
No, that's an absolutely fair point. And you know, you mentioned the injuries last year. That's a lot of adversity. Mike Tomlin, I think, doesn't get as much credit as he needs to for being an excellent coach in this league. I think he's very, very underrated, and he really held that team together last year when really the wheels could have fallen off. Tell me about what you think about Mike Tomlin. And I'm not sure how many years he's been there, but he's been there for quite a while in Pittsburgh to the tune of a lot of success.
Mike Tomlin has been amazing with this team. Think about this. 3 head coaches in the last, 60 years, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It is amazing. The Chuck Noll era was unbelievable. Yeah.
Some teams go through 3 coaches in 2 years.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin, they have not had a losing season under Mike Tomlin since he's been there. They might have went 8-8, but like you said, they have not had an upside-down losing season since he's been there. 2 Super Bowl appearances. You know, they lost to Green Bay. Green Bay was the best team that year. It happens, but you got to give the man credit. He's done a lot.
Okay. The last thing I have for you, Darren, is the schedule. And looking at the schedule, obviously, then Steelers in a tough division. You got the Bengals and the Ravens there, and the Browns and the Browns. But there's really not a stretch in here where I could say that the Steelers have a lot of games where they're going to, face a lot of tough opponents in the way of like 3 or 4 straight. The only one I can think of is probably the stretch where they play New England at home, they play Baltimore at home, and then they go on. Then they play, they play Baltimore and Baltimore, and then they are home against the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys, and I know, go as Romo goes. So that, depending if he's upright by then, that could be a tough game or not a tough game. So, in your opinion, is there any stretches on this schedule that you're a little bit concerned about with the Steelers? And then what's your prediction on the year?
My prediction on the year is probably 12-4. That stretch that you're talking about, if you really look at it, you got the Dolphins at home, then you got New England at home, then you have a bye week, which is week 8, then you have the Ravens, and then the
Cowboys. Yep.
And then the Cowboys.
Yep.
So they have a little gap in there where they can get healthy if things are going wrong. That helps a lot. You know what? Wishing we would have got Tom Brady and the Patriots during those first 4 games. We haven't been that lucky. You know what? It happens, but I think the Steelers will be okay this year.
And Brady's going to be on a mission this year, so that's going to be an interesting game.
Brady is always on a mission.
Well, after he comes back, it's a suspension that the commissioner had to push for and got him out. I think there's going to be a big chip on his shoulder to just really tear it up. And this when he comes back in the league, so that's going to be an interesting game with the Steelers and the Steelers.
Interesting stretch in the schedule too. I think is the last 2 games. They are division games, but they're both at home. I'm not too high on Baltimore this year, and like you mentioned, like the Browns are the Browns, so it could really be in Pittsburgh's favor that they end the year with 2 games at home against beatable teams. They're rivalry games, and we get it, but those are games that they should win.
Right.
So if they're up against Cincinnati for a division crown, I haven't looked at the Bengals schedule, but I don't think it's any easier for Pittsburgh than those 2 teams at home.
Pittsburgh always wins in Cincinnati. And if it follows suit, Pittsburgh will beat Cincinnati in Cincinnati on December 18th. Then on December 25th, Christmas Day, they'll get a big present. They'll beat Baltimore and the Browns. Last game of the season, let the second string take care of the Browns.
That's the spirit.
They'll be all right.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for the Pittsburgh Steelers today. I want to thank Darren Cooper to coming on the line today and talking a little Steelers with us today. Darren, thank you, pal. I appreciate it.
Not a problem.
And anytime the Steelers, something goes on during the course of the year, we now have an affiliate we can talk Steelers with. We'll get Darren back on here, give us an opinion. Darren, is that good with you?
That's perfectly fine.
Hopefully no more suspensions.
Yeah, really. We don't talk suspension with you, Darren. Let's talk wins next time we talk to you. So that's all the time we have at Sportsbox. Keep an eye out. We got some good things coming.
And the best place to find that is on our Twitter feed at Sportsbox Show. All our new stuff's going to be posted there. So keep an eye out there and share your feedback with us, how we can be better and how we can provide what you're looking for.
And remember, even though we brought Darren Cooper on a Steelers fan, the only opinion that matters is still right here. Thanks for watching. See ya!
Subscribe.